She called me her placeholder boyfriend in front of 18 people. What I did next shocked everyone. Before I tell you what happened, you need to understand something. I'm not the type of guy who makes scenes. I don't yell, I don't throw things, and I definitely don't walk out of fancy restaurants. But what she said that night, that changed everything. And trust me, by the end of this story, you'll understand why I had no choice. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. The red flag I should have seen, but didn't. 8 months ago, I met Sarah at an art gallery opening. She was incredible, confident, beautiful, the kind of woman who lights up a room just by walking in. We talked for 3 hours straight that first night. She told me I was the most fascinating person she'd met in years. I'm an architect. I make decent money, but I'm not rich. I drive a reliable Honda, rent a nice apartment, live within my means. Normal guy, you know. That first night, everything felt perfect. What I didn't know was that she was already evaluating me, and I was failing her test. 3 months in, she finally invited me to meet her friends. And that's when I should have known something was very, very wrong. The night that should have been my wake-up call. The restaurant was in Tribeca, the kind of place where a bottle of wine costs more than my weekly groceries. I showed up in my best blazer from Nordstrom. Everyone else looked like they'd stepped out of GQ magazine. Sarah's friend's husband, Jason, asked the first question. "So, Alex, what do you do?" "Architecture." "Oh, nice. Which firm?" I told him it's a good firm, respected. We do important work. His smile froze. "Oh, I thought you meant one of the big names." And just like that, I realized something. I was being interviewed, and I was bombing. The rest of the night was painful. They asked about my car, a Honda, apparently the wrong answer. They asked where I vacationed. I don't, definitely the wrong answer. They asked about my watch. It tells time, strike 3. In the Uber home, Sarah was quiet. "You barely talked tonight," she finally said. I felt like I was in a job interview I didn't apply for. "They're just protective." Protective. They were checking my bank statements with their eyes. She squeezed my hand. "I like you for you, that's all that matters." I believed her. That was my first mistake. The ex-boyfriend who never really left. Month 5, we ran into her ex at a charity gala. Tyler, finance guy, expensive watch, stories about his Hampton house. And when Sarah talked to him, she lit up in a way I hadn't seen in weeks. The whole drive home, she stared out the window. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Something had shifted, and it was about to get so much worse. Over the next few weeks, she mentioned Tyler constantly. "Tyler took me here. Tyler knew the owner there. I'm not a jealous guy, but I'm not stupid either." Then my parents came to visit. My dad's a retired factory worker. My mom was a school secretary. They're good people, salt of the earth. They raised me right. Sarah smiled politely through the whole dinner and checked her phone every 2 minutes. Later, she called them sweet, in a tone that made it sound like an insult. That should have been the end, but I was in too deep, and her birthday was coming. The birthday that would change everything. 2 weeks before the party, Sarah announced she was planning something big. "How many people?" I asked. 18, maybe 20. My stomach dropped. "Where?" She named a restaurant. I Googled it. $300 per person. "Sarah, that's..." "It's my birthday. I only turned 28 once. I'm not saying don't celebrate, just maybe somewhere more reasonable." Her face went cold. "Not everyone is satisfied with just reasonable, Alex. Some of us have standards." That hurt, but what she said at the actual party, that destroyed me. The week before her birthday, I finished my gift. A custom architectural rendering of the gallery where we met. Hours of detailed work, professional grade. I showed it to my sister. "It's beautiful," Emily said. "She better appreciate this." "She will." Emily studied my face. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you happy? What kind of question was that? Of course I was happy, wasn't I? Because from where I'm sitting, Emily continued, it looks like you're working really hard to make someone happy who doesn't work back. I had no answer for that. The night everything fell apart. The night of her birthday, I arrived at the restaurant in my best suit. The place was stunning. Ocean murals, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of place designed to make you feel poor. Sarah wore a designer dress I'd never seen. New, expensive. She kissed my cheek, not my lips, and took my gift without looking at it. Just put that on the gift table. There was a literal gift table, Tiffany boxes, Cartier bags, designer shopping bags everywhere. My simple wrapped frame looked pathetic. But the gift table wasn't the worst part. The seating arrangement was. Long table, Sarah at the head, surrounded by her best friends and people I'd never met. Me, at the far end, between some drunk guy and an empty chair. I'd been put at the kids' table. The first hour was torture. Nobody talked to me. Sarah didn't look at me once. Down at her end they were laughing, drinking champagne, having the time of their lives. Then I heard Sarah's friend Madison say, "Remember when Tyler took you to that place for your birthday? That was so romantic." Sarah laughed, didn't correct her, didn't mention me. And then Tyler walked in. When your worst fear walks through the door. Tyler, Sarah practically screamed his name. She jumped up, hugged him too long, way too long. He made the rounds, gave me a good to see you, bro, without actually looking at me, and sat down in the empty chair next to Sarah. I watched them talk. She was animated, touching his arm, laughing at everything he said. She hadn't looked at me in over an hour, but she couldn't take her eyes off him. Jason, the guy who'd interviewed me about my job months ago, turned to me. "So Alex, what are you driving these days?" "Honda Accord." "Solid choice. I just got the new Porsche Taycan, electric, 180,000. Why would someone say that? Because they could, because I couldn't. Then dessert came, and Sarah's best friend Brittany stood up with her champagne glass. Speech time. Everyone cheered. I just want to say happy birthday to my gorgeous, successful best friend who is way too good for most of the men in this city. Laughter. But she brought a date tonight. Sarah, introduce your boyfriend. What happened next, I'll remember for the rest of my life. The moment that changed everything. Sarah stood up, unsteady on her heels, fourth glass of champagne in her hand. "Is that what we're calling him?" she said with a smirk. People laughed nervously. "Okay, yes, everyone, this is Alex." She waved vaguely toward me. "He's my boyfriend." She actually made air quotes with her fingers. More laughter. I went completely still. "But seriously, Alex." Now she was looking right at me, smirking. "Don't get your hopes up, you're just temporary." The table went quiet. "Sarah," Madison started. "What? I'm being honest, that's healthy, right?" She looked at Tyler. "I mean, come on, he's sweet, he's fine, but he's not exactly." She gestured at Tyler, at Jason. "You know, not Endgame material." Brittany tried to laugh. "Oh my God, Sarah, you're terrible." But Sarah wasn't done, not even close. "He's like a palate cleanser," she continued, getting louder. "You know when you eat sorbet between courses? That's Alex. He's the sorbet between the actual meals." A few people laughed. One guy looked horrified. Tyler was smirking. My face was stone. "What did you call it, Britt? A bridge boyfriend?" "That was a joke." "But it's true. He's a bridge from Tyler to whoever's next." She laughed. "God, that sounds mean, but it's not mean if it's true, right, Alex?" She was staring right at me, expecting me to laugh along, to just take it. "Is that really what you think I am?" My voice was quiet. "Oh, don't be so sensitive. You knew what this was." "No, I really didn't." "Come on, be honest. Did you really think we were going to get married? You're an architect who drives a Honda." She gestured at herself at the opulent table. This was fun, but let's be realistic. Dead silence. Tyler smirked, harsh. I'm just being honest for once. Everyone else is too polite to say it, but we're all thinking it. She turned back to me. Right, Alex, you can handle the truth. And that's when I stood up. What I did next left everyone speechless. Every eye at that table turned to me. I pulled out my wallet, counted exact cash for my meal, my drinks, generous tip, placed it on the table in front of my plate. My hands weren't shaking. My voice was calm. You're right about one thing, I said. What's that? I can handle the truth. Alex, sit down. You're making a scene. You just called me a palate cleanser in front of 18 people. The scene's already been made. Her face changed, nervous now. I was joking. God, can't you take a joke? Were you joking when you said I'm not endgame material? Or when you said I'm temporary? Or when you wondered out loud if anyone here thought we'd get married? No answer. I looked around the table. Did that sound like a joke to any of you? Silence. One guy slowly shook his head. Tyler was still smirking. Here's the thing, Sarah. I kept my voice level. You're absolutely right. I'm not your endgame because you don't get to decide my endgame anymore. I do. Alex, wait. She stood panicking. I've spent 8 months trying to be good enough for someone who just told everyone here that I never was and never would be. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. You just didn't expect me to actually hear it. You expected me to sit here and take it because I'm temporary, and temporary things don't get a voice. You're overreacting. I walked to the gift table and picked up my wrapped frame. I made you something, spent weeks on it, but you know what? You don't deserve it. Alex, please. I looked at her one last time, mascara running down her face. Guess the temporary part just ended. I turned to the table. Enjoy your dinner. And I walked out, didn't run, didn't slam anything, just left. But this story, it's just getting started. The phone calls that never stopped. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, just breathing. I wasn't crying, wasn't angry, just clear. I unwrapped the gift I'd made. The rendering really was beautiful. Hours of work. I'd keep it for myself. I drove to my best friend Marcus's place. He took one look at my face. What happened? I told him everything. Jesus Christ, he said. She's going to call. Are you going to answer? No. At 10:47 p.m. my phone rang. Sarah. I let it go to voicemail. Marcus watched me. You're really not going to answer? No. She called again at 10:52. Voicemail. Alex, hey, it's me. I think we should talk. I was drinking and I said some things that came out wrong. You know how I get when I drink. It was supposed to be funny. Call me back, please. I deleted it. She called again at 11:47. Alex, please, I'm sorry, okay? I'm really sorry. I didn't mean you were temporary. I was drunk and stupid and trying to impress people who don't matter. You matter, you've always mattered. Let me explain, I can fix this. I turned my phone face down. 23 messages by morning, 6 missed calls. I didn't read a single one. When she realized I was serious. By Sunday, Sarah's text had changed. You're really going to ignore me over a joke? This is childish. We need to talk like adults. Then my sister called. Did Sarah just call you? Yeah, I told her to lose my number. What did she say? That you're overreacting, that it was a misunderstanding. I told her exactly what I thought of someone who calls my brother a palate cleanser at a public dinner. Emily's voice was ice. She tried to defend herself, said she was drunk. Drunk words are sober thoughts. That's what I told her. Over the next week, Sarah tried everything. Apologetic texts, angry texts, emotional manipulation. She showed up at my apartment. I wasn't there. She called my office. I didn't return it. She sent flowers to my work. I donated them to the hospital. On day 6, an email arrived. Subject, please read this. I read it twice. It said everything I might have needed to hear 8 months ago. Admissions of insecurity. How I made her feel like she could be different, but she was too scared. You were never temporary to me. I was just too much of a coward to admit that you were exactly what I needed. I felt nothing. Marcus found me staring at my laptop. What did it say? Everything I needed to hear 8 months ago. Nothing I need now. I deleted it. The consequences started rolling in. What Sarah didn't know was that her little performance had consequences. Real ones. The guy who looked horrified at dinner. He stopped answering her calls. Told mutual friends he'd lost all respect for her. Madison grew distant. Her husband said the dinner was brutal and he couldn't look at Sarah the same way. Even Brittany, her best friend, said, that was really harsh, like really harsh. Jason ran into me at a work event 2 weeks later. Hey man, he pulled me aside. Just wanted to say what she did was screwed up. Some of us saw that. But the best part, Sarah reached out to Tyler. They met for drinks. He made a move, she let him. She woke up the next morning to an empty bed and a text. Fun catching up. Let's do it again sometime. She told me this later, much later. She said that's when she understood. She'd made me feel exactly how Tyler made her feel. Used, temporary, convenient. My life got better, hers got worse. After 2 weeks at Marcus's, I went back to my apartment, back to my life. Work gave me a major project, a museum renovation. I threw myself into it. I started hitting the gym regularly, something Sarah had always discouraged. Too much time away from me, she'd say. I had dinner with my parents. Dad put his hand on my shoulder. A man who knows his worth doesn't beg to be valued. I took the architectural rendering I'd made for Sarah and completely redid it. Not the gallery where we met. My parents' first apartment building in America, a tribute to real love, real sacrifice, real value. I hung it in my living room. Meanwhile, Sarah's life was falling apart. One of her major clients, someone at the birthday dinner, requested a different account manager. Her boss was concerned about her professionalism. Her parents heard about the dinner and cut her allowance. We didn't raise you to be cruel, her mother said. Sarah had to move to a smaller apartment in a worse neighborhood. The story spread. She became known as the woman who publicly humiliated her boyfriend. Men she tried to date had heard about it. One actually asked on a first date, "Are you the sorbet girl?" She left in tears. Month 3, she tried one last time. Month 3, she texted, "You have some things here. When can I drop them off?" First message I'd responded to in months. "Leave them with the building manager." "Can I bring them to you? I'd like to talk." "No. Please, just 5 minutes." "There's nothing left to say. Leave my things with the manager." She showed up anyway. My building manager called. "There's a Sarah Chen here with a box." I told her to leave it with you. "She's asking if I can buzz you. Says she needs 5 minutes." "Tell her no. If she doesn't leave, call security." She waited in my lobby for 30 minutes. I watched from my window as she finally left, crying, carrying the box back to her car. I felt nothing. The museum opening, the final chapter. Months after the dinner, my museum renovation was featured in a public exhibit. My firm was proud. Architecture magazines covered it. It was huge. The opening was packed. Colleagues, my parents, Emily and her husband, industry people I respected. I was talking to a journalist about my design choices when I saw her. "Sarah." She stood near the entrance, scanning the room. When she spotted me, she froze. I turned back to the journalist and finished my thought. She waited, finally approached. "Hi." I turned, no emotion. "Sarah." I saw the exhibit was happening. Your work is beautiful. Thank you. Awkward silence. How have you been? Good, busy. I can see that. This is incredible, Alex. Really, you should be so proud. I am. I've been thinking about you. Okay. She looked frustrated. That's it, just okay. What do you want me to say? I don't know, something, anything. You were with me for 8 months and now you look at me like I'm a stranger. Sarah, you called me a palate cleanser at your birthday dinner. What did you expect would happen? I expected you'd let me apologize. I've tried for months. I heard you, read your email, got your messages. And you just ignored them. Yes. Why? Because an apology doesn't undo what you said. It doesn't change what you actually think of me. I don't think that anymore. I was wrong. I looked at her, really looked at her. You weren't wrong, Sarah. You were honest. For the first time in our relationship, you said what you really felt. That's not fair. People say stupid things when they're drunk. Drunk words are sober thoughts. God, everyone keeps saying that. She was crying now. Because it's true. You said I wasn't endgame material, that I was temporary, that I'm not the type of guy you end up with. And fine, but I'm not going to be with someone who's ashamed of me. I wasn't ashamed. Yes, you were. You seated me at the end of the table, barely talked to me all night, compared me to Tyler in front of everyone, told 18 people I was a placeholder until someone better came along. I know, her voice broke. I know I did, and I've regretted it every day. I believe you. Then why won't you give me another chance? Because I don't want one. She looked like I'd slapped her. You don't. No, I spent 8 months trying to be good enough for you, trying to fit into your world, trying to impress your friends, and the whole time you were embarrassed by me. That's not true. You never posted a photo of us, made excuses about meeting your parents. Every time we were around your friends, you introduced me like I was your assistant. I'm different now. Maybe you are, but I'm different too. I'm not the guy who'll accept being someone's secret anymore. I'm not the guy who'll wait around hoping to be good enough. You were always good enough. Then you should have treated me like it. She was sobbing, so that's it, we're done. We've been done since your birthday. You just didn't realize it. I love you, she said desperately. I paused, then gently, no, you don't. You love the idea of being loved, but you don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have said those things. I never said you were beneath me. Sarah, you called me sorbet between real meals. What else would you call that? No answer. I hope you find what you're looking for. I really do, but it's not me. Please. I have to get back to my family. Take care of yourself. I walked away. Alex, she called. I kept walking. Emily saw her, gave her a cold look, and put her arm around me. I looked back once. Sarah stood alone in the crowded gallery, watching me laugh with my family. She finally understood. She'd had someone who loved her, and she destroyed it for people who never cared. Final update. I went back to my parents. Mom touched my arm. Was that her? Yeah. Are you okay? Yeah, I really am. Dad patted my shoulder. Good man. The exhibit continued. I was present, engaged, celebrating something I was genuinely proud of, surrounded by people who were proud of me. Not thinking about Sarah at all. I'd moved on, not to someone new but to myself, and that was enough. So Reddit, what do you think? Did I do the right thing, or should I have given her another chance?